Are you ready for some sweet, sweet Starfield copium? Because I certainly am.
Bethesda, you done fucked it up, to quote Angry Joe. And the internets are all lit up with this story. And of course, we're speaking about Bethesda developers responding to the negative criticism that Starfield has garnered over on Steam. And
Again?
just bear with me a moment. Let's hit the pause button on this one for right now because I wanted to paint a bit of context for you before we get to the present. You see, developers, studios, publishers, community managers, I mean, you name it, they respond to player feedback all the time. This is nothing new. We've seen answers on...
Well, actually, Bethesda even acknowledging that there exists player feedback or community feedback is a pretty big deal. Because until this point, we honestly didn't know that Bethesda even is aware that it exists.
On social media, forums, and even via focus groups, or for instance, feedback groups via private Discord chat. Player to studio, hey, I think this change would be beneficial for the game. Developer response over on Twitter.
What change? What can be changed in Starfield at this point, except fully remaking the game? I don't think there can be changes made to this game that actually submagically make it into a playable thing. Everything is bad. There's nothing good. The repeated locations time and time and time again. 3 hours in, people are already complaining that, wait a minute, I have seen this location 3 times already. In fact, I'm on this planet and it has 4 points of interest, and 3 of them are exactly the same. Nice one, Bethesda.
Hear you and are looking into this issue. Again, this is completely normal. We've also seen what happens when a game launches and it's nowhere close to what it was said to be. No Man's Sky comes to mind, and many of you associate with the current and updated version of NMS, but that game at launch was a firestorm of controversy.
It wasn't a firestorm of controversy. There was absolutely no controversy. No one thought that it's anything but complete garbage when No Man's Sky launched. It was hilarious. You had dinosaurs walking on 2 legs when they had 7. Okay? It wasn't even close. That wasn't a controversy. Everyone knew that the ball has been, well, not fumbled. It has been exploded upon.
Lies, deceit, a completely broken product. Overall, it was really, really bad. I remember all the interviews that Sean Murray gave prior to the game launching. All those confirmations of what the game was promising to deliver, most of which, again, I'm just calling a spade here, were bold-faced lies. And of course, the player base was livid, and rightfully so. But the thing you didn't see was Hello Games, the studio behind No Man's Sky, clapping back at disgruntled players. They knew exactly what they had done, and they sat mostly in silence and just took the abuse. But steadily and through determination, they've improved No Man's Sky piece by piece, and we're...
True. But the reason people now know that No Man's Sky is good is because of Starfield. Now, Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky did their due diligence. They fixed their games, okay? Which, by the way, Starfield never will do, because paid mods are coming soon there, bucko. Don't worry. Bethesda is gonna make like 1% of the base game, and then you will buy that for $70, and then you will buy the in-game paid mods for another $70 to actually finish you at least half the game. It's gonna be great, don't worry about it. But No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk are the greatest examples of what happens when something like Starfield fails so tremendously. Now, these games were good, and people were actually playing them, but man, when Starfield came, and it was such an absolute disaster, it did do a huge job at revitalizing and getting people to talk about No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk because of it. Because those were the 2 biggest games that everyone who was dissatisfied with Starfield went. A futuristic space exploration game, you go No Man's Sky. A futuristic shooter, well, for the story, well, you go play Cyberpunk. That was it, because Starfield failed at everything, okay? It's a space exploration, story-driven game without space exploration, and the story is so sad and bad it might as well not even be there.
Were finally able to deliver on the vision they had promised the game would be, or at least most of it. And to be clear, what No Man's Sky has achieved is not the norm. It's actually quite the exception. Switching gears ever so slightly and leading up to launch, Starfield was fairly, or unfairly, depends on how you want to look at it, placed directly in the crosshairs of a console war the likes of which
18k ammo. Jesus, that's sad.
I can't remember ever seeing. It was this daily slog of Xbox good, PlayStation bad, or vice versa, and by the time the game...
Everyone knows if you're an Xbox fanboy, or a Sony fanboy, or Sony pony as they say, you're an idiot, okay? If you're a gamer and you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy a console to play, slap yourself in the face because you're a disappointment to your whole family tree. Your ancestors are looking down upon you, and they're hoping you're the last one to represent them, because probably because of you it's only gonna get worse.
Game actually launched, all hell was breaking loose. I remember seeing huge review bomb threats from Post claiming to have thousands of Metacritic logons that were all going to destroy the game. And remember, this was all before it had even launched into early access. Now, for the record, I personally like the game. Sure, it has faults, it has deficiencies, it has bugs and technical...
Oh, by the way, I'm just gonna summarize Starfield for some of you who don't know how this works, okay? You saw what he shot right now, right?
Now, for the record,
Watch.
I personally like the game.
Yeah, you see that? You see this little worm-like thing? Because of how good the Starfield RNG mechanic is, you can land on a planet, and this is the Alpha Predator. Yeah. This can be the level 50 Alpha Predator that roams the lands and destroys everything, because everything else is level 5. But this right here is the Alpha Predator. It is what it is. Yeah.
Sure, it has faults, it has deficiencies, it has bugs and technical issues. It would not be in my Game of the Year discussion, all of which I have openly stated here on the channel, but it also has a ton of potential. We still haven't seen the DLC or Creation Club with the tools to create insane mods. We've seen this slow...
Insane pay mods, I think you actually meant. Insane pay mods that will cost 10 to 20 bucks. And, you know, will be not great anyway.
Drip of patches and fixes, the last of which was the DLSS implementation, and within that fix were some...
Oh, you mean the things that should have been in the beginning of the game? Like the FOV slider, like the eat button, like the DLSS thing that should have been in the beginning of the game. You know, all those things that took a team of 250 coders 3 months to implement. 250 people. And they needed 3 months to implement these basic things. This is crazy.
Big improvements to the game, albeit it should have been there at launch and took far too long to make it into the live game. And so, Starfield has received a ton of justified criticism. And I don't want to go through the list line item by line item, but let's just say that the general sentiment is that the magic with Starfield just isn't there. And the game kind of mirrors what Bethesda has seen as well. And to be clear, I love many previous Bethesda titles like Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, Doom, Prey, Dishonored, but...
Oh god, that's the Doa King.
Bethesda now isn't the can-do-no-wrong Bethesda that I remember from the past. It isn't that industry-leading hit machine that we saw back in 2008 with Fallout 3, back in 2011 with Skyrim, etc., up to Fallout 4 in 2015.
Skyrim was their biggest claim to fame. I mean, I didn't personally like it that much, but I still have 50 hours or something like that in that game. Hell, I have 60 or 70 hours in Fallout 76. Fallout 4 is also not the greatest game, but it has its moments. And the reality is, Starfield is not even 1/10 of the worst part of those games. It's crazy.
Since then, they delivered some real flops like various Wolfensteins,
This is Fallout 76, by the way. The intro thing.
Fall.
It kind of looked cool, even though it was obviously going to be a failure, but man. Also, by the way, do you know what's the funniest thing? Starfield was held back for like a year or two until it was allowed to be released by Microsoft. Microsoft, the company of pure unbridled evil, is unironically the reason that Starfield wasn't worse than Fallout 76 on release. And by the way, you should still never buy Fallout 76 because it's absolutely atrocious garbage. But still.
Fallout 76, although now vastly improved, and up to the present, and
Also, no one wears Power Armor in 76.
for many, Starfield. You see, the criticisms are out there and valid, which now takes off the pause button and to the matter at hand. Because with just how polarizing Starfield is and has been, it has of course garnered a ton of attention. There are currently over 81,000 Steam reviews for the game, and it's still sitting at an overall rating of mixed, and it has been for a while. Now, some of these are the typical
"It's gonna go down,"
the game sucks, non-helpful troll trash you'd expect.
Why would... Okay, first of all, it's not your job as a gamer to actually explain to developers everything that they need to fix. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. It doesn't need to be more complicated than this. Anyone who says ever that, oh, your criticism is not valid because it's not constructed, that's not your job. Your job is to just say bad, bad, good, good, if you want, okay? No one has the right to say, oh, you can't call this game bad because you offer no constructive criticism. There's no reason for you to offer constructive criticism at this time. Because if there's one thing unanimously agreed about Starfield, that it's a bad game, and guess what? Every single person talking about how bad Starfield is pretty much always tells you the same thing. I'm constantly telling you the same things. Everyone else, by the way, is also telling you the exact same things. The story's bad, too many loading screens, no exploration, no variety of items, choices don't matter, everything is just arbitrary, just stupid, the plot doesn't make sense, copy-paste locations, stupid vendor options, meaningless resources. Everyone is constantly telling you the exact same thing. There's no need for you to make an essay about how it's the same thing yet again. Just say it's bad.
But a lot of these are well thought out, detailed critiques of the game, and these reviews raise 100% valid points about Starfield and its deficiencies. But what has caught the public's attention...
Again, it's such a bad point. I hate it. I absolutely hate it, honestly. Because again, if the game's bad and someone says it's bad, that's not an invalid critique. It's a completely valid critique.
Is that Bethesda, which, again, let's be honest here, is not known for their open lines of communication, has been responding to these critiques with some of the most reckless and disjunct responses imaginable.
Beautiful.
And to be clear, these odd and often condescending responses are not limited.
They're not odd, they're not condescending. The responses he's talking about are developers replying to posts, and essentially they're just copy-pasting Todd Howard's "There wasn't anything for the astronauts when they first went into space to walk on the moon. It was pretty fucking empty, but it was still fun for them." Yeah, that's what they kind of do. That's it. That's it. And other than that, they're literally saying, well, it's kind of your fault for not liking the game. That's unironically Chat GPT responses, or saying, well, it's your fault for not liking what's in the game, or, we went for the realistic approach. Nothing in this game is even remotely realistic. If you think anything in this game is realistic, you need to rethink your life, and a lot.
Limited to just Starfield. I've read through the Steam reviews for games like Fallout.
I dare you to tell me a single thing that's actually realistic about this game. We can completely exclude it from everything. Show me something realistic. There's nothing. There's even complete in a complete vacuum. Nothing about this game is realistic. I don't think they have even introduced realistic screwdrivers.
4, Fallout 76, and Redfall, and I've got some theories on this phenomena, but that's a little later in this video. Again, I'm not going to read through all of these verbatim, but as someone that has logged 200 plus hours into Starfield,
Sad.
I think I have a pretty good handle.
You need roughly only 30 minutes to figure out the game is bad from the intro.
On the issues at hand, and can weed out the nonsense from the legit when it comes to...
The Starfield intro is so bad compared to every other game. And every other game, it's like something's happening. It introduces you to its setting or whatever. It's pretty cool. Well, in Starfield, hey, wake up, Dusty. Yeah, you're a miner. Let's go mine. And then you have to wait 20 minutes. The initial unskippable dialogue is literally 20 minutes. The majority of the player base is trying to mine other miners at that point just to see what happens because they're so bored. Because it's the most scripted, most uninteractive thing ever. And the worst part is, I understand scripted. Scripted is actually pretty fine in a lot of cases if it actually gives you meaningful story. But the Starfield scripted thing doesn't. It just doesn't. Okay? It literally doesn't give you anything. It's just scripted and boring. It doesn't give you any details about the lore. It doesn't give you any details about anything. You just touch a rock that makes no sense, and then no one explains you anything about why it should make sense. There you go.
The solid feedback. For instance, here's one from a player with just shy of 60 hours on record. A derivative echo chamber of a game that exemplifies Bethesda's Fall from Grace.
Ooh.
The RPG elements are dumbed down to a thin gruel. The characters are as emotive and convincing as cardboard cutouts. The quests are mere shells of narrative. The long, decrepit engine is an embarrassment compared to modern genre competitors. POIs are reused and recycled to a truly ludicrous degree, and
I don't know what a POI is. A point of interest, I think.
And the main story beats are hollow and derivative.
But
you get Space Dragon shouts, for heaven's sake. Gone are the open worlds and interesting en route encounters.
It's actually not Space Dragon shouts. It's really bad and stupid and boring Space Dragon shouts
that made prior games so beloved, replaced with disconnected islands of shallow, recycled content punctuated by loading screen after loading screen. Every ounce of soul has been sacrificed to the altar of convenience and accessibility.
True.
Every atom of creativity fused to molecules of mediocre until all that remains is a shambling, empty echo of the past.
Damn, this was a good one. And how did Bethesda respond? Dude, I really know what's the ChatGPT response to this.
Now, before checking out the Bethesda response, which is
hilarious,
special,
probably,
let me just say that this is the type of honest review you want. And I'm speaking as if I were a developer. It's not blowing smoke up your ass. It's just honest and said with feeling. Now, you don't have to agree.
Well, honestly, no, that's not the type of response you want, because this response essentially says everything that's in the game is bad and you should feel bad. That's not fixable, okay? Especially for Bethesda, who don't plan to fix anything.
Agree with it.
Like, why would Bethesda fix anything now if it can just introduce paid mods and someone in the paid mod section will make a mod that requires you to pay money for it, and then it fixes things for Bethesda? Bethesda is not double dipping. Bethesda is currently triple dipping in the amount of how much little they care and how much little it is profitable to care.
But you do need to accept it. So again, this is the kind of player you want because they're giving you a chance to make it right. Again, if they didn't give a damn, they wouldn't have posted it all or just trolled the reviews with some sort of babble. But this player is basically crying out, Starfield is not doing it for me, and these are the reasons why. The tone is depressing. but that's how this person feels about the product.
True.
And so, you would
Come
think
on,
that if
give us the
Bethesda was
reply.
truly going to respond to a comment like this, they would do so in a professional manner, and they would respond with humanity and feeling. But what we get
No.
is this PR-derived bullshit that is so tone-deaf and disconnected. I mean, here's just a sampling from Bethesda Falco Yamaoka. Quote, "If you feel that things are getting boring, there is so much more to do than just the main mission!" Exclamation point.
Oh, wow, yeah. Again, this is a complete ChatGPT response. They're just copy-pasting responses like this all over the place. The guy didn't say, oh, I'm doing this one thing and it's getting boring. No, this guy said everything in the game is 100% boring. Stop.
There are many side missions where you can learn about the people and story of Starfield. You can take...
Which makes you even sadder if you take the time to do that, because you shouldn't. Because that makes you understand even more how much little effort has been put into this game.
Time to explore various planets for resources and items, break the law by smuggling and selling contraband, build your own outposts and starships, and customize them to your enjoyment. The intention of Starfield's exploration is to evoke a feeling of smallness in players and make you feel overwhelmed. You can continue to explore and find worlds that do have resources you need or hidden outposts to look through. While there may be loading screens...
I don't understand what they mean with hidden outposts to look through. Every single point of interest is marked on the planet when you arrive.
Between fast traveling, just consider the amount of data for the expansive gameplay that is procedurally generated to load flawless...
Yeah, this is my favorite. Well, dude, did you ever even consider that this game needs your computer to load things, and we've made it really bad in loading things? So stop complaining about the loading screens, because we're bad at making them not be shorter or less. Dude, this is... Man, how far gone do you need to be to reply like that? Have you No, I'm a gamer. I don't care. I don't care if you had to make a blood sacrifice to make this game function. Do it. I literally could not care less. Oh, there's a lot of data, then make less data. I don't care. Okay? You're pretty much the only AAA developer who even has loading screens left in this day and age. Okay? Everyone else has managed to magically learn the trick of seamless loading screens. Except you, Bethesda. Except you, for some magical reason. Forced animations are not even pre-loading screens, okay? When you try to jump with your ship and you see the animation of you turning and jumping, you know what that is? That's literally an animation. That's not actually a part of the loading screen. The loading screen starts after you finish the animation. The animation that you cannot cancel is not a loading screen. It's literally an animation. Bethesda wasn't even smart enough to tie that into the loading screen. No, you get the animation that's unskippable, and then the game starts loading things up. It's crazy.
Flawlessly in under 3 seconds. We believe that shortcoming will not hinder our players from getting lost in the world we created. Okay, my first question is, what the fuck is this? And probably my follow-up question would be, who the fuck writes like this? The review
ChatGPT
was expressing feelings towards the game, and Bethesda feels like it's best to respond like it's a PR tour? Just consider the amount of data for the expansive gameplay. That's the answer for players not liking loading screens? Again, I personally don't have to agree with review comments, and neither does the studio, but what the fuck is this?
That's a pretty cool ship, though.
Well, let me...
Was this the summary? A total disaster? Yeah. Hey, it is what it is, and it is a total disaster. He's absolutely right, by the way. Anyway, that was our boy, Light Buzz Lightbeer. Yeah, nice. Anyway, pretty good video, pretty funny. Haven't seen anything Starfield in a while now, man. But the code cannot stop. I am honestly way too into it. I love it. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid saying thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and go check out Lightbeer. Oh yeah, Captain Buzz Lightbeer. What a time to be alive. Bye.